Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are.
Welcome, everybody. It is time for the Books That Make You show, and I'm your host, Desiree Duffy. And today we're talking about books that make you get a little twisty in your genre reading. I love books that do genre mashups where they have some romance or some suspense, some fantasy, some comedy, the supernatural. I just love books that kind of are unexpected and surprising, and especially when they're so fun to read and oh so imaginative, such as our author who we're talking to today. Ann Charles is a USA Today bestselling author, and she writes spicy stories full of mystery and comedy, adventure, suspense, romance. Some of her books have the supernatural in them. We'll find out more about that. And when she's not dabbling in fiction, she's arm wrestling with her two kids and attempting to seduce her husband, and also arguing with her sassy cats. Now, her latest book, because she's got quite a library under her belt, is in the Jackrabbit Junction series, and it's called Twisty Tortoise Tussles. I said it. I paused, but I said it. Twisty Tortoise Tussles, which is a delightful tongue twister. I love that. It is a Jackrabbit Junction humorous mystery book number 6. Ann Charles, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. And you did a great job with that title. It's so much fun to play with as I just talk to people and we see what comes out when you're trying to say it.
You should absolutely do that. Just go stand on a street corner and hold up a card and ask people to say it and see what happens.
Really, that would be a blast. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us about this book and how it fits into the series. Just give us the lowdown on all this twisty fun.
So I'm the type of author that I like to come up with the title first before I write the story. I don't know why, everybody's brain works differently. So when I was thinking about what I wanted in this book, I really wanted to try something I hadn't done before. I typically have 3 point of views in a book in this series, sometimes 4 if I'm feeling adventurous, but this time I have 5. And I really wanted to experiment with taking 5 different subplot kind of storylines, and mixing them together, twisting them together, trying to weave them, introducing everything right at the start and then twist, as the plot twists. There's tussles throughout, between different characters, making things twist and turn and bringing it all back together at the end. So it was a really fun challenge I had in mind, which I like to do with each book, try to think of a different way to tell, the story that's kind of fun. And so each book doesn't feel like the same thing, repetitive kind of a thing. So Twisty Tortoise Tussles, once I had that name, I knew, okay, this is going to be a blast because we're going to take 3 sisters. It's the Morgan sisters. They're in their mid-30s. So they're not, this is not for young kids. This is more of an adult story. And we're going to twist up their lives. And mixed in is Mac Gardner, who's the hero that's been there since the start. He's with one of the sisters. They're a couple. And then a new character, the sheriff of the county's sister, who doesn't love being a sheriff's sister, and all that comes with that when your brother's the law, and it's an older brother too. So we have so much fun with 5 different characters that have crazy things going on and their stories all twisting together. And at the plot of the story is there's a guy that from the beginning of the series, he's supposed to have been dead and he's caused so much trouble with his past life. He was a criminal. He fenced goods, but he stole from the criminals too, and he buried treasures all over in the Southwest in the desert around the area. So this guy is supposed to have been dead. And right from the start, we've recently learned he might not be dead. And oh no, because, the sisters have been there with all the other characters, finding treasures, turning them into the law sometimes, trying to get them back to whoever they belong so that they don't get hunted down by these nasty, bad guys coming to kill them, looking for their stuff. So that's kind of the overall thing going on is this guy really dead or is he not? But in the meantime, there's so many fun subplots full of craziness going on that if you just want to escape and have a blast and just get twisted up and twirl around, this is a story for you. It's not going to make you want to clean your house or change your life or get really healthy and go for a run. It's going to make you want to sit down, have a good time, and just laugh and escape.
I adore that. Now, you are instilling such a sense of fun in your writing, and it feels very cozy. It's like, would you consider it a cozy mystery, or is it?
No, because there's language and there is, it is the romance. So there is a little bit of sex on the page. It's not full romance. So that's why I mix the genres and I kind of sit on the fence in between everything. But yeah, with some of the language and the concepts, I know there's teenagers that are more advanced. I was, some of the books I read in high school, but I mostly tell people, if you're looking in general, this is a 17 plus.
Gotcha. Well, and that's wonderful for folks like me, because I want to escape and I want to have fun. The world can feel really heavy sometimes and scary, and we're busy cleaning and chasing kids and things like that. So I applaud you for doing that. Do you feel, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Can you describe your style a little bit more and unpack that a little bit more for me?
A long time ago when I first started, I kind of adopted the whole mystery, mayhem, fun in the sun idea. Mm-hmm. So that's, kind of it overall. I'm out to have a good time. I'm not like I said, I'm not out to make you grow in any way or really, I'm out to help you be healthier by laughing. Mm-hmm. And it's if we share a sense of humor. Of course, if you don't like my sense of humor, you'll probably go, I don't think so, Anne. But I love this too, this writing thing at the gig. I call it the writing gig because I get to meet so many people that share a sense of humor with me. And that's wonderful. You find people you can laugh with. And so that's always, part of my goal is just to give you some smiles.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, that's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about this book in particular with the tornado and the twisty aspect of it. It was inspired to some degree by watching Dust Devils. Can you talk about that?
Right. So I live down in Arizona. Well, I live up in the mountains, but I'm down in the desert all the time. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever been down or just traveling through on a hot, sunny day, or even in the winter if the sun's shining out, you'll see dust devils out there, usually in the desert, just spinning. And I've always found them so fascinating because they're, I know tornadoes in general can take their own path, but they usually are pretty big and they're doing their, massive. Dust devils are like kids in that way. They're out there spinning, they're wreaking havoc. And if they hit somebody's place, you'll see everything go up in the air. But at the same time, they just twist crazily through the desert. And it's really fun to just watch them and see which way they go. And then, oh no, is it coming toward the road, and here comes tumbleweeds flying through the air at you. So, and if it hits you, it's kind of a side swipe, which is, kind of like the story. It's twisty. It's, oh no, you're watching it going, oh, where's that going to go? And oh no, here it comes at us.
I love that. I love that. Okay. We had them when I was a kid growing up, probably not as powerful. And I know they're not very powerful, but the ones in Arizona, right. I've seen those. I've driven through that desert and I know they were much bigger. When I was a kid, I would chase them and I'd get inside them if I could, or I'd, get as close, and then they usually were gone before I could get there. But I was just like, I want to go to the land of Oz. I want this to turn into a tornado and take me away. So I love that you just pull that kind of fun aspect from maybe a time when we were kids and when life was simpler and everything else. Can you talk, Anne, a little bit, because you're a mom and you're a busy lady too. What kind of hurdles or obstacles did you run into with writing this last one?
Oh, well, I struggled. I had started it and I had a few chapters done, and that was at the very, very end of last year, beginning of this year. But I really kind of hit a stalling point and was struggling because, I'm at that age where my parents are aging. So a lot of times I'm helping with the teenagers, but a lot of times I'm helping with parents. And so, a friend of mine calls it the sandwich years. And I was feeling very sandwiched. Mm-hmm. And with all that's going on in the world, when you have to write humor, it can be hard if you're not feeling it. And so I was kind of in a little bit darker, struggling place. And I had this wonderful fan, and she was in her late 80s, and she'd been around for years with this. This was her favorite series, and her daughter had, been on my beta team for years. Anyway, her daughter wrote to me and said she had lung cancer, and they didn't expect her to make it through the summer. And I was like, oh no. And she said, do you have any books she could read that you haven't put out yet? And I didn't, because I'd been sitting there wallowing in my, oh, this is, life is hard stuff, and getting swatted by life's fly swatter. There we go. So anyway, I said, no, but you know what? I can finish this book, and I can send her chapter by chapter, like she's on my first draft team if she wants, and she can look at it and try to find any problems with it, and get back to me like First Draft does. That team, they're always looking for stuff, and her mom was gung ho to do it, and so I would write a chapter, I would print it out, I would send it to her, she would write me back. We did it all by mail because she didn't have a computer, and we went back and forth the whole time, and it was a really, really motivating kick in the pants. As authors, we often say we write for our readers, and we write to, do something for them. But this was really an example of I'm writing for somebody. And it was so much fun. I needed that because I got to write for her. I mean, I had other readers reading it, but I was really writing for her and hoping she would laugh at this joke or whatever. And so it was such a big kick in the pants, and it really helped me get the humor rolling, get stuff going, because I had an actual person that I thought will laugh at this, when I drop this line or when I do this scene and situation. So it really made a difference for me in this book too. It felt different all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Anne, I got to tell you, I've interviewed a lot of authors, and I've heard a lot of inspiration stories and why I wrote this book. I think that story was the one that got me the most. That was amazing.
I can't go much more. There's so much more. She was so wonderful. And I actually went over and visited her in Pennsylvania. We drove to Ohio, see family, and we surprised her on her front porch. And it was so fun. I mean, she was just so, oh my gosh. And I was like, oh my gosh. And, then we were bawling, and I'm like, please stop crying. I can't cry when your niece or your granddaughter's taking pictures. We can't do this, So it was all around just an amazing experience. And it kind of brings you back to, why am I writing these stories? It's not just for me. I do it to entertain myself, because it gets me out of real life and some of the situations, like parents that are aging and struggling. But it was also just, a feel of, oh, that's right. That's why I wanted to do this in the first place, was to make people laugh and have a good time, no matter their situation. So yeah, it was quite a overall emotional ride.
Yeah. And it sounds like it was therapeutic, and is therapeutic for you as well. You were able to kind of get a little bit out of your writing slump, and
very much so. Yeah. Yeah. It was needed. And I still feel that oomph of keep going. This is what we do. Remember, so,
yeah.
It was kind of like getting out of the mud, getting unstuck, and let's get rolling again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you took on a big challenge. Okay, I understand having a couple of different points of view in a book. You put 5 into this. So talk a little bit, if you could, about the process and how you pulled some of that off, because that sounds like it was quite twisty as well.
Yes. And it takes, for me, notes. Lots of keeping, you have to be in it. I couldn't take a couple of weeks away from writing. I had to be continually in there and writing story so that I could remember, okay, back in 2 chapters ago, we had this one doing this, and we need to make sure we tie that here and show hints of it here. And I even tried something a little different. I don't usually write epilogues for stories, but in this one, I threw an epilogue in because one of the things I love about some movies, is when you go through the credits and you sit and watch the credits, and they show little tidbits of things that happen maybe throughout the story that you saw, but it was background and you didn't really realize what was going on. But all of a sudden at the end, when they bring you the flashes together of the different scenes, you go, it was there all along. That was happening right in front of me. And so I wanted to play with that concept. But how do you do that in a book? That's not easy to do. And I thought, okay, let's see if I can pull this off as well. In addition to the 5 different points of view, let's do this epilogue where I go back and I add, and it's new content I'm showing you, but it's not really, because I'm just showing you what you saw bits of throughout. I'm just expanding that. But I didn't want to slow the story down with it. And I wanted to use it as a surprise, as part of the ending. So that was really fun to do as well.
Oh, I bet. And I have to imagine that it makes it the perfect book to be adapted. Have you talked to or thought about turning it into any kind of a television series or film franchise? Has that thought crossed your mind?
That, I think as most of us authors, we always kind of daydream, how would this go? Wouldn't this be fun if this was a series? And so, yes, that's always in the back of my mind. But at the same time, as an, indie author with 5 different series that I'm working on at different times, I always think, okay, let's put that aside for something in the future that could be, when the time's right and the stars align and everything works out, then boom, this is going to happen and I'll be ready for it. But at this point, I still just daydream about it and keep building, because I think it's important to build a lot of the series before that happens too, so that you don't feel the pressure of I have to hurry up because now we've got this out there. I would love to have many, books in the series, and then you can kind of, just stay ahead of it and not write fast and still write quality, that way.
Yeah. And you are so amazingly prolific. Okay. You just dropped that you have 5 other series. Can you talk a little bit about some of your other books and series too? Give us the lowdown on that.
Sure. So one of the biggest ones, not my main, but it has the most. I'm going to start writing book 13 soon. And that is the Deadwood Mystery series. And that is humorous as well. Mm-hmm. And it is full of a mix of supernatural and tons of humor and romance and suspense, all kinds of stuff just thrown in there. So much fun. And it's based off, it's set in the town of Deadwood, South Dakota, which is a real town. Mm-hmm. And it's a historic town, just like some of you may remember HBO Deadwood series was about the town of Deadwood. So I grew up, spent a lot of time there growing up. My mom still lives there. And so I was able to incorporate so much of that town as a character even into that series. And so when you read those books, you can actually go to Deadwood and the public buildings are in the book, and all that great stuff. So that's a blast. That's the Deadwood Mystery series. And then I have a prequel to that my husband and I write together called the Deadwood Undertaker series. So it's set in the 1870s when the big gold rush was going on. And so that it's still supernatural. It's got Western, but lots of humor again. So it's all that stuff mixed together. And we're finishing book 4 in that series to get out this fall. So then I also have the heroine of the Deadwood Mystery series, her brother, who shares some supernatural abilities down in the Maya jungle, down in the Yucatan. So there is a dig site series, and that is a mix of archaeology, adventure, all that kind of Indiana Jones stuff I grew up loving, mixed with supernatural as well. And again, I always have humor throughout and some romance. So I create my own dig sites based on all, I do a lot of research, but then I build my own little dig sites in my head with temples and all that stuff. And I get to name them, which is so much fun. So I have the dig site series, and I hope to be getting into book 3 next year. It's been a while, but I'm working toward it. And then I have this crazy novella series called the AC Silly Circus series. And it's about shapeshifters. It was written to fit in with a Kindle World program years ago, and then they shut that down, so I had to write another. And I'd like to keep going. And it's about a circus train that travels from town to town, but they're shapeshifters. They're not humans. They're part human, but they shapeshift. But in the shapeshifting world, they're considered the kind of weirdos. They're not normal shapeshifters. So it's really fun to explore that and that's like a crazy, weird cartoon in my head, rated, with the language rated R and stuff that comes out this weird. And I, as I write it, it's like, this is like a weird cartoon. This is crazy. I love it. So Those are my 5 series.
That is amazing. Wow. You've got so much going on. And I got to ask you though, you say you write with your husband. Mm-hmm. I know how hard it is for a lot of authors to just write with a co-author. How does that dynamic work? Can you tell us about that?
Well, we get along really well. And he's been part of this since the start for me. He's always been behind the scenes. He brainstorms, things have always been going on with us. But then when this idea came for this Western paranormal or supernatural that ties in the prequel, I love the idea. He loved the idea, but I said, oh man, that's a lot of work. Because if you write historicals of any kind, you really have to be careful. You have to get your details right because people are, historical readers are really smart. They know which, weapon, which brand of something was around, what kind of clothing. They know all that really well. So you have to do your research. And I didn't have the time for that with all the other stuff I'm trying to keep going. And so, he was like, oh, I love research. And he does. So he stepped up and we started working on the first one. And it's a blend of our writing. It's not really one or the other. People say, well, which part did you write? Which did you? We have a process that's, he writes, we brainstorm, he writes, then I come in later and do my part in it. And there's times when it's going amazing and we're having a blast. And then there's times we disagree and we butt heads, but it's all part of the process. And if what comes out, the fans love, which they do, then that's, what matters to us is that sometimes he gives, sometimes I say, okay, let's do it that way, and we just go forth.
So do you ever put people that you know into your novels? Do you ever write in characters that maybe is somebody that it sounds like you do that with the settings.
Yeah, I kind of do. I mean, there's kind of caricatures of people I've known and met over the years. Many of them, some are gone, no longer with us, but, and I don't try to be, use them as villains. I haven't done that yet. I've had my villains all be just people in my mind. But I do try to have elements that incorporate them as well as sometimes names. People will have their name, like an old coworker. He's been part of my first draft team. He's a wonderful guy. He didn't ever really want kids. So I put him in and they're the triplets. He has triplets in there. So, and he still goes, I can't believe you gave me triplets. So there's times I'll do something fun like that, which is part of a name or something. But mostly I try to keep it to fiction just because I don't want to hurt feelings. I don't want someone to, say, oh, well, I thought that was funny, but I didn't like the way you did that. I don't want them to do that. I just want it to be a fiction person. But I do have a lot of readers who go, is this person's this so-and-so? Or like the mother in the Jackrabbit series, she is, you don't like her a lot of times. She's not the nicest mom. And people will joke with me about, if I'm at somewhere with my mom, is this like Deborah in the series? And mom will go, is it? And I'll say, no, mom, not really. So we have fun with it.
See, I love that. And there's that sense of humor coming out right there. Right. And do you have any advice or thoughts for writers? I mean, because people listening and listening to you, watching and reading your books are just probably like, oh my goodness, I could never be that prolific. What would you like to suggest for aspiring writers?
It's one step at a time. I started off way back when, and I don't even want to tell you how long ago. Not since I was a kid. I'm not one of those people. I was in my mid-20s, but I started little by little. And I always say, take baby steps when it comes to writing a book and getting books out, when it comes to marketing, which can really overwhelm writers of just, there's so many ways you can try to get out there. Just takes little by little. And I often think of it as, how I said I'd build my own dig sites down in the jungle. I think of it as a big site I'm digging or I'm creating. I have different temples and different sections of my, cool city down there with, the Deadwood humorous mystery series temple. And then there's a bunch of sub temples around there because I have Deadwood Shorts, which is a bunch of novellas that have to do with that series that are tied in. So I build all this, and then I go over here on the other side, and I play with the Jackrabbit Junction temples and all that stuff. So try to think of it as that you're building one thing at a time and going for an overall thing. And it's not a quick get rich quick thing for most of us, unless you win the author lotto. For most of us, one book is just one book. 5 books used to be the thing where they'd say, oh, if you got 5 books out, you can make a living. Not anymore. I mean, it takes a lot of time and writing and working with readers and trying to find readers. So take it as it's a big, long journey through life. And this is what you're going to do and try to have fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I've said it oftentimes. If you're going to be a writer and put out books, do it because you love it. Do it because you're a storyteller. Do it because you have a calling or you want to share it with the world. There's a bazillion reasons that you can write books without the goal of making money. If you want to make money, you might want to go into investment banking because this is just not where it's at. But people like you give everybody hope and inspiration because they see what it's like. And it is, it's not to diminish all the hard work and dedication that goes into it.
Right.
So, speaking of that, what's next? So this is book 6.
Right.
Is there book 7? Where are we going with all of your series next?
So there will be a book 7. There's going to be several more because we're really getting now into the meat of some problems. And for each series, I have a series arc that I go along. It's not just random. My books, you could pick them up and read them out of order. You can do it. I give you enough little backstory bits to make you understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I really, if you're like me and you like to get into a whole series, you start at the beginning and you really go through and you learn all the characters, and it makes it such a richer, story. And so within the series arc, we're still in the thick of it. We're still, heading into around midpoint with all that's going on. So there's plenty more to come in this story, but I do have a few books in front of it. The next book, like I said, in the Deadwood Undertaker series that we've named The Backside of Hades, that comes out this fall. And let me tell you, action-packed. Oh my husband, this was so fun. We talked about, just action after action, and he just, knocked it out of the park. So it's so fun if you like that kind of a story where there's just supernatural stuff and all kinds of, excitement and flying along. That's coming next this fall. Then like I said, I'm going to write Deadwood 13, and I don't have the name quite down yet. I think I do, but I'm still holding on to it. So the 13th in that series will be coming out early next year. And then I hope to write Dig Site 3. And that one I don't have a name as well, or I haven't picked the site, but I'm collecting all kinds of archaeology magazines and books about the Maya to really get back into there and have some more fun down there. So just more and more.
I can tell. Do you go to any of these locations? Would you be down? Have you visited Mayan sites in Mexico, South America?
I've been to Mexico a few times. No, I have not been to the Maya where I'd want to go yet. And part of that problem is that I have little kids. Well, I had little kids. They're now teenagers. Mm-hmm. And when it came down to it, with some of the stuff that had been going on down there, you read about, I do want to go. I just wanted to wait till my kids were a little older and maybe not take them to that. We've gone to Puerto Vallarta and some other places in Mexico, but I kind of wanted to hold off and just let that be my husband and me going on that trip, and they're old enough to take care of themselves, So I've been waiting, but I have lots of plans to go down there, and lots of friends that go to different resorts and things that I'm like, someday I'm coming with you, and we're gonna have a blast. So not yet, but Arizona, yes, I have been down where I said it, and living here, it's just a short, hop away to see it. And the Deadwood series, both of them, yes, I go to Deadwood at least once a year for my annual Deadwood fan party. And this is the 10th annual. So we have lots of stuff planned this October and lots of readers and people coming in. So it's going to be fun.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That sounds like a blast. Can you tell people where they can go to find more information, about the Deadwood event and your books and follow you on social media? Give us your details.
Sure. The easiest place is anncharles.com, and it's just anncharles.com, because that's where you can see all the books with the links. They're on audio, they're print, they're ebook. You can order from my online store and I'll autograph or whatever you want me to say. That's all there. Plus in my blog, I'm not really a blogger, but what I do put in there are links to my newsletter that we put out, the Deadwood fan party information, all the different podcasts and interviews I've done, we keep out there so people can go. And if you're really looking for something to just fill your weekend, you can hear my voice all weekend long. It's wonderful.
I would love that. It's been delightful talking with you, Anne, and hearing your voice and seeing your face on the video portion of the show. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
You bet. You bet. And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Again, my name is Desiree Duffy, the host of the Books That Make You show. You can find us online, booksthatmakeyou.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course on YouTube. Please ring the bell, subscribe. Make sure you never miss a Books That Make You show. Also on the website, you can subscribe to our Webby award-winning newsletter and find out all sorts of information and contests and giveaways with books and authors. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The host and executive producer of the Books That Make You show is Desiree Duffy. Sound mastering and engineering by Dave Napox. Social media and content promotion by Siddhi Jahagirdar. Copywriting and editing by Mike Robinson. The Books That Make You show is an award-winning podcast produced by Black Chateau Enterprises.